Shout out to my 8-year-old nephew for letting me borrow his room for today, getting me a little studio. Guys, 0-0, Bologna Roma. It's a match where Roma comes out and knows that they have to just get something, I guess. Don't get embarrassed. Away from home, Mourinho faces the pupil, Thiago Motta, who he had at Inter Milan, and who has since gone on to become a pretty decent manager. He was at Spezia a season or two ago, and then he gets the promotion. Actually, he was at Genoa before that, gets fired under Preziosi, who has since left the club, has since sold the club. Under Preziosi, he fired something like 18 managers, something insane, or like up to 26 managers that he actually fired. Thiago Motta is one of those. He gets a promotion the following season at Spezia, and following the unfortunate passing of Mihajlovic, we see Motta come in as the manager for Bologna. And he's done a really good job, actually. He brought that team up from 17th all the way up to 7th. I think they're a little bit deeper now than the height that they did get to under that they did get to their maximum. But honestly, he's been doing a pretty decent job there. And we see today that he employs his tactics and he makes Roma suffer at times. I think that he would have preferred to get players a bit more in between the lines in Roma's defensive half. And let's look at exactly what I'm talking about here. So if you look on your screen, you'll see what looks like a 4. It could be a 4-3-3. But really, what Motta is doing is so interesting because it's a 2-7-2 on paper. And break that down for for yourself real quick. And look at the two center backs, as you could see, deeper, right? And then you've got your wing backs. And on top of that, did I go black? Did I go black? I think I went black on my end. Let me refresh and see if this is still going on. No internet. Okay, so sorry. I lost internet, the Wi-Fi, but my phone still got the connection. Let me know if everything's good. But Motta, so his whole idea is what he wants to do is get players up the pitch, get the wing backs up, and then he pulls back with his center backs and uses them as these guys who will try to, I don't want to say recycle the same way that we saw last week with Xabi Alonso, but he does like to incorporate them into the attack. In fact, he even uses his keeper as a point of reference when it gets pushed back all the way to him. What Thiago Motta likes to do is use that keeper almost as a sweeper keeper and then open up the lanes where he can find somebody and then manipulate the counter press, if you will. And in fact, speaking of counter press, Bologna are, I think, the second best team in the league at doing that, only behind Napoli. They're the best. Behind Napoli, they were the second best on corners. So that's one thing that Roma doesn't really give away today too much is those corners. But we see Roma earn a draw. Should we call it an earn of a draw? I know we're not very much impressed, but when we look at that starting lineup too, I'm going to pull this up real quick. Can use my phone. I was using my computer before, but that's okay. And as we look at today's starting lineup, guys, I mean, look at that. We got Zalewski starting. He gets back, but then we see Tahirovic get a start. Solbakken, who I thought was really good today. Solbakken, extremely direct. And it's unfortunate for Belotti this season. I really want to say Belotti has not yet scored one Serie A goal. And now it's time for him to face the summer and what could happen, right? And I read, interestingly, today that he could actually take a pay cut in order to stay at Roma. So that's, I guess, a discussion for a later time if that actually happens. But one thing we totally have is a starting lineup which is so influenced by the academy. And I was proud. I was proud of Tahirovic. I thought he did a good job. I would have liked to see Solbakken. I know he's kind of like a fan to be favorite. Is he a favorite yet? Well, he hasn't played enough to be a favorite, but he's someone that we always, that many of us do want to see get incorporated into this team a little bit more. Up top, we see Tammy Abraham come in as the substitute. And like I said, Belotti, I mean, you could sum it up for me, guys. You could, fill in the blanks. I don't want to rag on him at this point, but coming into the summer, we'll see what happens. Okay, Marco is here. He says, our strikers play more defense than offense. Yes, totally. That's totally the game plan here. Like Samuel Eto'o at Inter, Mourinho pulled him back into almost a wing back at times. Are you that blind? Are you that in love with Jose? Jose is spineless? No, absolutely not. Jose is the guy who has Roma in going into the second leg of the Europa League semifinal with an advantage. Spineless how? Come on. It's just the tactic, Marco. Jokes aside, sport reporters should be ashamed of not criticizing Jose. Well, he does, he's open to that. He's not impervious to criticism. He's a manager, and like players, that's what fans do, is they face criticism. They're the ones who have to go in front of the press and speak and give an alibi and explain this is what happened. And against Bologna today, I think it's maybe too tough of a task. Bologna's been pretty good at home. They've done a good shift. And Roma just doing good, Famulo Republicano says. Sufjan says, I really wasn't impressed by Bologna, to be honest. This was a team that has never played together, half of which haven't played much at all in Serie A. Basically, a youth team. Yeah, totally today. And it's true. As Sufjan says, like Bologna couldn't get it done at home against a B/C Roma squad. So what does that say about Jose? That he could still get a result when he's away from home, he's heavy in the rotation, and he's using also a starting lineup that he's never played with. The starting lineup has never gone out. They've never played to start a match together, and then still gets the result. So I think you got to give some credit where it's due as we're looking at that lineup. Maybe not, congratulations, but definitely an understanding. Like, put it into context, and we see that this is obviously not an ideal starting formation for Jose, but yet you get a draw. It's not one that's going to push Roma back into the top four, that's for sure at this point, but that's not the objective, and that's clear at this point in time. By today's lineup, it's clear that Jose's objective is not to battle out and try to get back into the top four of Serie A. Sufjan says, Motta is a good coach, but this isn't the game I'd use to showcase that to people. Yeah, I agree. Like, I put on Twitter a bit of like a rundown of the way that he likes to play. So back to that 2-7-2. Let's pull that up real quick. The 2-7-2. So the whole idea here, as I was saying that with the center backs and getting them incorporated into the attack, is really to push the opponent. It's positional play, trying to get the opponent to move when you don't even have the ball. And what he'll do there is when he pushes those wing backs up, it'll leave two players isolated on the opposite side. Now, once Bologna get possession, they look to do a big switch, and then they move 7 players into the defensive half, into the defensive third, and they try to overload the opposition by getting in between those lines. That's how they score. That's how they play with like a false 9. Now, Arnautovic has come back, yet you see Malta's going to come into a problem with that because it doesn't really truly fit into this tactic. This is very much influenced, not so much by Jose, but by Pep Guardiola. So Motta has a real brain. I expect him to get an even bigger job. I think what he'll end up being is somebody who takes a quicker path to managing a top 7 team rather than someone like Juric. If we look at even Juric, who still surprises me by taking on Torino when he was at Verona, they were so good. And he takes his Torino. It almost seemed like a backward step, but he's got them playing good too. So Juric, another guy who probably deserves another shot. But Thiago Motta likes to attack, likes to get his wing backs up, likes to use his keeper as a sweeper, and likes to overload the opposition. And one way that he couldn't do that today is because Roma remains compact, and they didn't lose their footing. Even in the heavy rotation, Jose keeps them sound, keeps them tight. And it seems like that's been one element of this team, that no matter who has been the starting formation, that's what it's called an identity, that everybody on the team understands the way that they need to play. And that I really like seeing, guys. That I very much like. Back to some comments here, as I try not to block out my face. Okay. Happy Sunday, Ali says. Happy Sunday to you, too. Also, Mother's Day in the United States. Happy to your moms. Hopefully, I know it's a tough day for some, but I understand that very much. Good to see you in the rest of the community as always. Yes, sure. Yes. Sanchit says, hello from Singapore, 2 a.m. Should have won that, especially the Belotti one. Yeah, I agree. Belotti should have scored from that pass from Solbakken, one-on-one with the keeper. Should have scored. But it was a good save from Skorupski, somebody that we remember from his time at Roma. But glad to see Singapore in. That's a place I would really love to see. Really would love to get to Singapore. Sufjan says, our second-string players are much better in terms of attitude. Yeah, I'm going to stop there before I continue reading your comment here. The attitude. From the get-go, Roma really went on the front foot. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't expect them in the face of adversity away from home, trying to get a result. I didn't expect them to go on the front foot so early on. But what you did see was these players trying to prove themselves, and that I really liked. Sufjan brings up attitude, and that is totally a key word here. So with that front foot, to me, Solbakken was the man of the first half. The second half, I think it cooled off a little bit. He comes out. but definitely of the first half, most impressive player on the pitch. He's direct. He likes taking players in one-on-one. He's got the vision to make the simple pass in the final third too, something a lot of wingers, honestly, guys, lack. Not all wingers. Some wingers are good at one-on-one. Some wingers are great at highlight reels. Remember Ricardo Quaresma, if you've been watching Serie A that long. But when it comes to actually doing the simple things, they can't. But Solbakken can. And I think as he gets a little bit more used to Italian defenses and Italian players who grew up in the Serie A system and the Italian league, who are honestly pretty good typically, that once he adjusts to that and grows into his self a little bit more, he's going to be a really good winger. And I think a great rotational player going into next season. So I've got a lot of hope for Solbakken here. Back to that comment by Sufjan here. Thought 1-6 loss against Bodo is ironically one of the most important moments in Jose's tenure. All those guys are gone and forgotten. Ooh, that's a great call, man. Yeah. So rock bottom, right? And you can only grow once you're challenged. And Roma, I think, really had to look at themselves there. And I mentioned yesterday on Twitter how much I would love to interview Jose, because when I worked at CBS, I did write the questions for his interview. And part of me was definitely feeling like, I want to be interviewing Jose himself, though. And one thing that I was thinking to myself this morning, if I could ask Mourinho anything, it would be, how do you take this team of assembled characters and build a foundation, an emotional and mental foundation? That's what I really want to know. And this is totally one of those moments. And that's, as you mentioned it, I'm thinking like, how do you go from 1-6 in Norway against some team nobody's ever heard of, and then take their star player? But anyway, but then go on to win the Conference League, and then the following season get into the semifinals of the Europa League at the least. How do you build that? And I think that that's one thing I would really love to hear him answer. And there's a lot of different types of answers I'm sure that fans could come up with for that as well. Steven says some of the worst refereeing I've seen this season. Yeah, he let it go on way too much. He did not control the game nearly what I thought he was capable of. Like, the referee really should have toned it down, gotten things under control a little bit more. So not thrilled with the refereeing. What's the point of having VAR if you don't use it? I don't know. And that elbow against Solbakken, was it? It was Solbakken, I think, right? That totally should have been looked at for a penalty. Like, you can't elbow a player in the face. I think it was Solbakken, not Zalewski, not Belotti. And it's not even looked at. Why? Like, you can't just get someone in the throat. One, they can't breathe. Two, it's a foul. And if it is a foul and it's in the penalty box, then you should have at least looked at it, man. Like, he was on the floor. It doesn't hurt you at all to go take 30 seconds, add an extra minute onto added time, and make the right call and save your reputation as a ref. But instead, nothing. And that to me was really strange. Steven says, does Belotti have a curse on him? It's like the goal literally repels all of Belotti's attempts. Something like that. It's really starting to seem something like that. If he stays, going into next season, I would wager that Belotti scores more than, what's the over-under here? 7? Belotti scores less than 7 or more than 7 going into next season. I think we should create a little wager. We should definitely do that. By the way, I'm planning on making a WhatsApp group. I'm thinking WhatsApp rather than Discord. WhatsApp seems to be a little bit more user-friendly. That will be coming within the week. Sanchit says, subscribe. Yeah! Thank you, Sanchit. Great work. Would love some technical analysis-focused videos. Maybe in the summer. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. And I think if you want to see something really technical, I can't pull it up here right now because my Wi-Fi died on my laptop, which is under me. I'm streaming off of my phone. But on my Twitter, Wayne and Rome, if you scroll to my second or third most recent tweet, you'll see a full analysis on Motta, which I learned from watching Tifo's video, which is actually linked in this. I believe it's linked here. If it's not, it's linked to yesterday's preview video. I think it's in the preview, the Bologna and Roma preview. But thank you very much. Bongani says, good performance from Svilar. Yes, Svilar showed a lot of potential today. Didn't have much to do, but was good when called upon. I also thought Svilar looked somewhat able and capable. Maybe someone who would also be a good number 2 next year if something happens with Rui. I'm not alluding to anything, but I kind of get like the impression that there will be a new number 1 come this summer. Both elbow versus Solbakken and Ibanez were clear penalties. once again, I do think that the ref has to take a look at that elbow to the throat. Like, think of it when you play ball, and if someone does that on the field, right, and you're playing like pickup or you're in your league, whatever I play in like a rec league just to stay active, right? If someone did that, I would be super upset. It's got to be looked at. It's a foul. Back to some of the comments. 8 goals. 8. Okay, over and under for Belotti next season is 8. All right. Wayne, feel free to ignore this, but I really like the astronomical, cosmological inspired theme of the room. Yes, it's my 8-year-old nephew's, who's super smart. Kid's a whiz, extremely bright and knowledgeable on science, and he loves it. So we try to keep him. I just gave him some fireworks. By the way, I was like, don't tell your mom, here's some fireworks, go play outside. And by the way, can I borrow your room for my YouTube show? Love Zalewski's performance. I understand why he had to play on the right this season, but he is better coming in from the left. Yeah. So the thing about Zalewski is I think he's in the right spot on a 3-5-2, typically. Like in the 3-5-2, he plays on the left wing back, right? But it's the tactic which doesn't allow Zalewski to fully be himself. If he was in a 3-5-2, which was offensive-based, rather than Mourinho's defensive 3-4-2-1, then I think you start to see the real Zalewski. But this season, he's definitely been affected by taking away one or two of his best characteristics, which is driving to goal and getting his shot off. About that shot, he definitely needs work with finishing. Like last season, I could tell that he was a bit raw in that area, but he's not going to grow unless he gets to be in front of goal, actually like doing it, the true experience. But as he's plugged a little bit further back in defense, he's suffered. He hasn't been able to exploit his full potential this season. So, Zalewski, there you go. Okay. We are great. Just need more good players. I think so, too. This summer is going to be really interesting if Mourinho stays, right? And the PSG thing is not true because people cannot stop talking about PSG. It was even on BBC.com this week. I'm like, could you just praise the man for getting into their Europa League semifinal? But no, that's not what sells stories, right? So add a couple players, whoever you like, put in a comment, players that you think would do a good job this summer or would be great to come into Roma this summer. There's a bunch of free agents. I think that will definitely be the DS's go-to again this summer. Remember, this team only spent 7 million euros in the transfer market last season. I think it'll very much be the same type of approach. Zaha, Firmino, those are big names that are free. Ndika for the defense. So keep an eye on that. Keita from Liverpool also going out on a free. Ioannis says, hi, Wayne from Panama. Ooh, Panama. I was just talking about Panama. Wish we could have gained more points on Milan and Atalanta, but I'm still really proud of Roma B. Wish I could have seen Karamatsis. Ola, Tahirovic, and Missori were very good. Yeah, and Missori I would like to see a little bit of too. So the Greek defender there, Karamitsis. Sufjan says, Wijnaldum also good. Such quick feet with the ball and pretty press resistant. Press resistant. I like that word. Yeah, he is able to break the press. And that will be something which is really important come this weekend. Come Thursday against Leverkusen in Germany. I like that he got the start here too, because it lets him get a little bit more under his feet. We know that Wijnaldum has not played too much this season, and even when he came back, then he got another injury, and now he gets the start, and I like that he was able to just go on and do his thing today. So that was pretty good to see. So recap, Roma B goes out, Roma B/C goes out, gets a draw against a good manager, one who's taken this team from 17th all the way to 7th in just one season, one who plays offensive tactics, who definitely had a motivated side, who must have seen a weak Roma, one that was had a little bit of blood on it, and tried to take advantage, yet couldn't, because the team was Roma, the Giallorossi were resilient. They put up a great fight. They had a positive attitude going into this. They even went for a goal and should have scored, should have been given a penalty kick, probably should have given the 3 points based off of those things, and go into Thursday in Germany with their heads held high. Also a little bit refreshed. Don't underestimate or don't discount what that could truly mean going into the second leg of the semifinal. Leverkusen's going to be hungry, guys. You know that. You know they're going to be out for, to use that word, blood. Once again, Xabi Alonso, make no mistake, knows everything about how to approach a final and how to cope with being down a goal. I'm getting memories. I don't know if Xabi Alonso was there at the time, but the Liverpool that came back against Milan and shocked them when Pirlo, what was that, 2006, 2005, 2006? I wonder if Xabi Alonso was on that Liverpool. I'm pretty sure he was. So he'll totally be getting them amped for that, showing videos of that time at Liverpool. It's good. It's good enough for today. We go away, and now it's time to get ready for Thursday. Let's get a couple more comments in before we break, guys. Sufyan says, we spent $7 million and then made a 15 million profit on the winter. Zaniolo's loss isn't talked about enough. He wasn't great, but he offered pace and power and was another body Roma is lacking now. So one thing we could say about Zaniolo is Solbakken has come in, and he's been that replacement. And I'm happy to have Solbakken over Zaniolo, but it's true that there was a bit of a plus Valenza there on that deal. But Zaniolo had so much skill. It's still, there's still that 1% of me that's a little bit bitter that he didn't want to be part of this team anymore. And he kind of cried himself all the way to Turkey. Mourinho won't go. He'll be here next season. I'd like Mahrez, Kane, and a good keeper. Yeah, I think everybody would like Harry Kane. Mahrez, I don't believe, is on a free. And Mahrez is, there was a time about 5 years ago where he almost joined Roma, and that would have been quite the move. But a keeper, I think, comes in. Zaniolo might provide pace and power, but will destroy the locker room chemistry. Yes, for sure. Who do you think wasted more opportunities today? Andrea or Tammy? I love their fighting spirit, but I'm sure they both had at least one easy goal handed to them today. Who'd you go with next game? When it comes time for Leverkusen, I think I'd go with Tammy. I like his hold-up play. I think he does a really good job at combining with his teammates in the middle as well as the final third, but more so even the middle, breaking the press, escaping out of pressure, and getting one or two teammates initiated in a counter. Because if Roma take a lead, if they go up 1-0 in Germany, that's totally going to throw that game for a loop. And I really like what Tammy has offered, not in scoring this season. He's got a couple of big goals, but he's way under where he wants to be. But just his ability to hold up the ball a little bit more, get it off quickly to his teammates, combine with them. I think that's been one of Tammy's strong-suited yet understated qualities so far this season. Modin says, I like how Missori and Tahirovic played. In particular, for me, Tahirovic, great at winning the ball. He's going to have a future in Serie A, no doubt. Whether it's him getting more time at Roma next season as a true defensive midfielder, that would be interesting. A true D-mid, plus Bove, who's definitely going to get, I would think he's going to start more than a third, if not half the season next year, maybe even more. Plus, the guys that will continue to play their part, Cristante, Matic, the leaders. So overall, a good game. Nobody got hurt, thank God. Standings, we know Napoli. I'm pretty sure you're tired of seeing Napoli and everyone going crazy. That's not going to stop, guys. Just FYI, until the summer is over. But the standings there, Milan slip again. Lazio escape with just a draw, and Inter keep marching on. I think they're going to take fourth place at this time. They're probably going to get to the Champions League finals too. So Inter hitting form at the perfect time. So is there a match MVP? I'm not so sure. First half, it's definitely Solbakken. Definitely like so direct, and guy just has an eye for goal as well as combining with his teammates. All right, I think that's it for today. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. We're going to be back for sure, doing a lot of stuff pre-Leverkusen. Absolutely. Let me know what you think, and we'll be back. One more comment here from Ali says, I'm so thrilled and stressed about this second leg. I just hope that pressure of making the Champions League spot doesn't overwhelm the players to cause individual errors. Hopefully not. And it is managed by Mourinho. I believe in this squad. And then Cristante is doing well. One last shout out for Brian Cristante, the indispensable, always there, always shows up, whatever his manager needs from him. Boss, you need me at trequartista? You need me at intermedio, defensive midfielder? Oh, center back today? Okay, Jose, I got you. And not just does it, but does it in a way that I don't think any other player could do on this team without Chris Smalling, by covering who's been Roma's most important player over the last year and a half. So shout out to Brian. An excellent comment there by Republicano. Like I said, it's Mother's Day. I'm going to go chill with my wife. It's her first Mother's Day, and I'm being bad right now. I'm not doing my fatherly duties. So we'll talk soon. Like I said, we'll totally be back doing a bunch of stuff, a lot of analysis as well. More analysis going into the second half, analyzing what happened in the first leg, as well as some starting lineups as well. Will Patrick Schick be back to be the another goal del X to be Roma's Venom? I don't think he makes this one, but nevertheless, there's going to be so much to talk about. Drop a like. Send it to your Romanisti friends. Ciao.